last video was made, or my last video was more a very short-term time frame, looking at the 5-minute chart and looking at the ZCash. We can see the ZCash here. I was talking about how it's in the 5-minute, well, we're now on the 15-minute chart, but in the very short term, it's trying to resolve whether it continues down to, let's zoom out, to my target of around $126, or whether it pushes forward. Now, the reason we had this huge bounce here, we can look at the bigger picture, and the reason we had this happen is because at the time, Bitcoin, this is the Bitcoin 4-hour chart. At the time, Bitcoin was pulling back from its recent highs, and it was pulling back down to test the 4. This is the 4-hour chart to test the 4-hour EMA ribbon where it took a bounce, and as it took this bounce, and if we were to look on, if we were to change this to a shorter term, let's say the 1 hour. So this was here. Now you can probably just about make out. Let's see. At the time, the market will have been noticing this potential head and shoulders that was in the making, and it looked like Bitcoin could break down here. And I've been watching Bitcoin and expecting it to retrace its recent upswing. It's in this hourly uptrend, and as you see, it's leveling off. And this is kind of, again, this is like on a short-term time frame, a wick off kind of this distribution zone. It's running out of steam. You can see how it's tilting over. It wants to go down. It is going to retrace its price, its upward momentum. It will retrace along this Fibonacci retracement map, basically. When is the question? And also you can see that there's this trend, which is this was part of it had broken out of a channel that it was moving down. So this was the upper resistance of that channel, and as it broke out, you see it had this burst up. I think we now want to come back and test. Firstly, we want to test this form of resistance, which will be turn support, and secondly, we see this tying in with the 0.618 fib. Maybe it even comes down further at this point and tests the 0.78 fib. But I thought last night, and the ZCash market also thought last night, that this head and shoulders was going to break down, and the price was going to break the neckline and come down to to this sort of area at the 0.618 fib. And that's really the reason, because it saw that the market reacted, the ZCash market reacted. ZCash was doing the same thing, making the same head and shoulders as it was giving up the gains it had made on its upswing. And once the Bitcoin price did start to look very teetering, ZCash tumbled this way. It got down to here, and at that point, Bitcoin recovered and pushed higher, as you can see, for another little try towards the upside. And if we look at this on the 4-hour, and we can see what's happening in the grand scheme of things. Now, this is Bitcoin again. Now, really, we need to be watching all of this price action through the prism of firstly ZCash or Bitcoin or any alts. We should be looking at the Bitcoin price as driving the entire market. And the Bitcoin price, obviously driven by the fundamentals of the industry, and driven by macroeconomic situation at the time. So we have to take that into consideration. But I think that in terms of the overall industry, I don't think we're at the end of the bull cycle. And if we're not at the end of the bull cycle, then we're when Bitcoin is in which case Bitcoin is in an accumulation zone, and I mean, in terms of macro, I just don't think that we're at the end of the money printing hand over fist. I think when we see this, when we do actually see the traditional markets, equities start to really collapse, then that's also the same time we're going to see the crypto markets collapse. But I don't think we're actually seeing that yet. We're hearing signs that from the Fed that it could be coming sooner rather than later, that they're going to start raising rates. But I think there's more money to be printed. There's more devaluing of fiat currencies on the horizon in the near future, if not the medium and even long term, but certainly in the near future. And I think that's good for the Bitcoin price, and that's going to drive the cryptocurrency market as a whole. So we take our lead from Bitcoin, which takes its lead from traditional markets and from the Fed, basically. And assuming that we consider that we're still in the middle of this bull cycle, then actually we should zoom out to, we can look on the line chart. If we look at this Bitcoin chart, this is on the daily chart, and we can see the Bitcoin price. This is on a line chart. It kind of cuts out the noise of the candles and all of the up and down price action. Gets a bit confusing, but you can see very clearly a huge daily upswing, uptrend, higher highs, higher lows, higher high, higher low. We get our first lower high, you could argue there, but really it's this one here. We still get a higher high just, but then we get a higher a lower low. So higher high, but a lower low than this low. And we know at this point, we should probably have known at this point, that we were in a distribution area of just distribution. I don't know if we say Wyckoff or Wickoff, but this is a Wickoff event here. This is large interest selling, taking, or large parts of the market taking profit. And we can see it happening. It's a car crash waiting to happen. It's just teetering, and it comes down. Now we saw this 50%-ish drop, and we could certainly be on our way down further. You can very easily see the potential huge head and shoulders that we're forming. There was a huge head and shoulders here. Look, shoulder, head, shoulder. I think I told most of you about, and I certainly cashed in on that, and I shorted it down here, which was nice. I don't think I got it at the top. I got it about there. Still was great. And we're down now. We're at this point where yes, we could be forming the right shoulder, and we could be set for another huge tick to the downside. And maybe this is the end of the crypto bull cycle, and all it will take will be the Fed to start putting a pin in their quantitative easing, or to at least make the markets believe that they are going to be raising rates quickly and meaningfully, and we will see equities and Bitcoin reverse in lockstep with that government, central bank decision. So we'll see. But I think that on balance, I don't really think we're quite there yet. I think we've had a huge blow off top, and I think we're in a Wyckoff accumulation zone now. Robert Wyckoff, somebody could tell me whether we say Wyckoff or I like Wyckoff, sounds better, Wyckoff. Anyway, Robert Wyckoff was a trader or stockbroker in the 20s and 30s who tried to educate the public about about how to follow the large institutional interests, watch their behaviour, and by learning to identify their behaviour, you can actually see, you can actually make your entries and exits more well timed to coincide with the people who are moving the market, and obviously that's your great advantage. He created these schematics. I've drawn in this Wyckoff accumulation schematic on top of the Bitcoin daily chart, and now you can see. In fact, I'm going to show you the schematic here. Is that it? This one we can look at. There we go. So you can see. Okay, so here's his accumulation schematic. Now, preliminary support is where the price comes down. There's an initial support where the price bounces, and then it continues down to this selling climax, this frenzy of selling, automatic reaction, almost like probably people's short. The people take profit on their shorts. People's longs are liquidated, and so this basically forces an automatic response. As you know, if everybody's been liquidated, the way to liquidate a long position is to take a short position. So if trillions or billions of longs are liquidated, then they're liquidated. By a short position being triggered on their behalf by the exchange, at the same time that these chaps who've shorted it are going to be adding in profit, are going to be taking profit on their shorts. So that implies that they also have to take a long in order to close their short. And so an automatic reaction, an automatic price surge bounces as far as it bounces. And so in this first reaction, the capitulation of the price down to the first preliminary support, the continued capitulation down to this selling climax, which triggers this automatic reaction or response by the market. We established these first two boundaries. We established the support lines and the resistant lines of the new trading range, the accumulation trading range, and so here we have. And so this is the first thing we have to look at. Now let's look at Bitcoin, see how that applies to the Bitcoin price. So here we have this huge blow off top, something like 50% from here down to here, and as you see, we come down. Bam! Here's our preliminary support, and it takes a little bounce. This first support. And then and that establishes our first support line, the upper support resistance line, sorry. And then the selling frenzy continues all the way down to here, the selling climax, which establishes one of our two lower support lines. As I described before, the actions of the interests who are shorting the market, taking profit, aligned with the actions of the people who are buying, who are closing, whose long positions are being liquidated or stopped out, and the mechanism for doing that is to take the opposite position, i.e. a long. All of this, a short. All of this it creates an automatic reaction which sends the price higher because there are these additional long orders coming in. Okay, so this bounces here and creates our second resistance line. So we have our upper resistance and our lower resistance. This is all in phase A, and we can see what happens next is that, and this is according to this. I mean, I was watching this and watching it unfold alongside the schematic that looks like it was written for the Bitcoin price, but was written 100 years before Bitcoin was invented. And I think it's probably because algorithms and bots have this kind of programmed into them, along with whatever else they program these things for. So I just think this is a heavily automated market, if not completely controlled by the NSA, and might just be a computer program running the Wyckoff accumulation cycle for all we know. But let's assume it's not quite so dastardly as that, and it's probably that the bots are playing the game of accumulation, and if they are, we're still in phase A. After the automatic reaction, we get a secondary test of the lower resistance, and we've at this point we're very well establishing our trading range, the accumulation trading range, and this is what Bitcoin has been doing essentially since the 19th of May. We've basically been trading between $40,000 and $30,000. We've come down to 30,000-ish a couple of times, but basically between $30,000 and $40,000. So now I think what we recently experienced with ZCash and with Bitcoin over the last few days is simply the secondary test in phase B. As if we look at the Wyckoff chart, as he drew the schematic, I mean, this is basically what Bitcoin has done. We've come into phase B, tested the top resistance, and we've made our way down to the secondary test of phase B of the accumulation area. So here we are. We came up. We tested the support lines. We've come down. We've had our secondary test of phase B, and look what we're doing. We're heading into this meaty bit of effectively sideways trade, ranging between 30 and 40,000. This is what I believe that Bitcoin is doing, and this is the part we're in here, phase B. Now, everybody knows that for altcoins, the time to be in altcoins is when Bitcoin goes neither up nor down, but sideways. If Bitcoin goes up, you should be in Bitcoin because it will outperform it leads the market. So the market takes its lead from Bitcoin, and so if Bitcoin is going to go up, you probably want to be in Bitcoin first. And equally, if Bitcoin goes down, the altcoins are going to hemorrhage losses in greater percentage terms, either in US dollars or in Bitcoin terms. They're going to lose against the dollar and Bitcoin. In other words, either get yourself into dollars or get yourself into Bitcoin when Bitcoin is going down, because altcoins are going to be going down more heavily, more often than not, than Bitcoin itself. But when it's going sideways, when Bitcoin's going sideways, is when you will see these alt seasons and these extremely bullish surges from some of these altcoins. My interest in ZCash is based on the long-term potential it has. I like the project. I like the fact that it is a privacy coin. I like the fact that it's the first privacy coin. I like the fact that it's got a great team of people who also worked on the Bitcoin the Bitcoin code in the early days. It is the Bitcoin code. It solves problems of fungibility. It solves problems of scalability. It solves problems of the cost, the high fees of Bitcoin network. The Zcash is great as far as I'm concerned. But aside from whether you believe it's particularly whether it's got a long-term future, the main thing is it's more highly correlated to the Bitcoin price, or in my experience it has been more highly correlated to the Bitcoin price than other altcoins. It also, because it has the same scarcity of Bitcoin, you've got to like it. I also think the fact, like about 10% of global wealth is offshore, like worldwide. Traditionally has been for 100 years or so, and is still. It might be a coincidence, but I would say that that's probably a reflection of human nature. I would say that if you took any population, possibly if you took a cross section of any population of people, you would probably find 10% of people would, I'd say a minimum of 10%, would not like the idea of would not play by the rules. If they could hide their wealth, they would hide their wealth, for sensible reasons as well as for illicit reasons. But I think that if you look at the last bull cycles that we've had in the crypto market, ultimately the Zcash price tends towards a 10% to a 10% of the Bitcoin price at some point in the cycle, towards the end of the cycle, let's say. So if you trade your Zcash for Bitcoin towards the end of the cycle, you could maybe get a 10% of a Bitcoin, 0.1% of a Bitcoin per Zcash. At the moment, it's like 0.004 or something. It's tiny. It's about 25 times less than that at the moment. So you could 25x if this goes according to the previous cycle. You could 25x your tokens in Bitcoin terms by the end of this cycle. And I wonder if there is some relevance to the 10% connection, perhaps in the group of within this group of cryptocurrency, the population of cryptocurrency users. Perhaps those people trading Zcash are no different from the people worldwide trading everything else and accumulating wealth in all other ways. Perhaps they are simply, if you imagine everyone trading Zcash over the next year at some point has to take profit, and they take profit in Bitcoin or in dollars. Would you be surprised if 10% of them want to turn their wealth into an untraceable coin, Zcash, it has the same basic code as Bitcoin, and it's anonymous and private and cheap to transact with? Is it a surprise that 10% of the Bitcoin gains maybe are transferred into the Zcash network and squirreled away somewhere where prying eyes can't see them on blockchain explorers? I don't think that's surprising, and I think that implies essentially a 10%. A 10% of the Bitcoin price is perhaps a long-term, realistic long-term target, and it will be volatile. It won't stay at that price. It will probably trend towards that price towards the end of cycles as people take their profit. And in America, taxes are paid in December, so it's not again a coincidence that the Bitcoin cycles seem to come to an end towards the end of the year. That's my suspicion. I also have seen on several occasions that Zcash actually leads the Bitcoin market sometimes, and it seems to be before big sell-offs. And we could even look at the one yesterday. Like Bitcoin hasn't retraced yet. Where are we looking? Here we're on as we see, Bitcoin hasn't yet retraced. It still wants to, but let's get rid of that. So Bitcoin hasn't retraced from this upswing. It's not quite retraced yet, but I think it will. I think what it's going to do is it's going to have another try towards this. We're in the B phase B here now. So look, I think we're you can see that we're at this bit. I mean, this doesn't mean anything what I've drawn, because it maybe won't take as long as this. Maybe it will be over by August or July. Maybe I've stretched it out too long. So maybe phase B only comes up to here, for example. But look, we are coming up to our first proper test of the upper resistance boundaries. We're going to need a pullback as per the Wyckoff schematic, and I think we'll get it. And on the Bitcoin 4-hour chart, we can see we just wicked up to the first support, first resistance, and I think, look, we're going up again to see it maybe we wick up again, maybe we just miss it, maybe we go up further. In a way, that doesn't matter. What matters is, and also look, here's a 200 here's the 200 on the 4 hourly, here's a 200 moving average coming in. Now what's that going to do? I think we're going to get here, we're going to see price action come up to here. Once it gets near this, it's going to have to overcome this. When's the last time it was above that on the 4 hour? Look, it's been underneath it ever since it broke down for this 50% decline. So do we really think, we're going to break above it? I can tell you right now, if we do break above it, then that means I have been wrong about the accumulation, in so much as what that will mean is that the accumulation has taken place over this period. So preliminary support here, secondary test, and then this. So this is phase B starting here, and then what we're talking about is this is in fact the spring. And what we're now going to do is we're going to now shoot to new all-time highs. So this is a key moment. If Bitcoin is rejected by this 200 moving average, which it's been unable to get near ever since the price was jettisoned off this cliff down 50% or whatever it was in May the 19th. So if it gets rejected here, then it confirms that we are still in the wick-off accumulation, and the accumulation phase is going to take place over the weeks and months as per my daily chart. If, on the other hand, you see Bitcoin power through these two support and resistance lines and up this way, so let's say we get some to 44,000, then there's an increasingly strong case to be made that we are going to new all-time highs, and in which case we probably want to be in Bitcoin, not Zcash at this moment. So this is a good thing to watch. I suspect that we're going to be rejected here, and that's because I give a greater weight to the notion that the months of distribution at the top of this huge upswing. This was months of distribution. This is February, or we could even go back. Let's say it started here at 47,000. 8th of February, we have all the way to 8th of February until the 13th of May, really, where this distribution zone is going on. So we've got February, March, April, 3 and a bit months, 3 months of distribution at the top, and a big sell-off. And then do we really believe that 3 months of distribution will be resolved by 1 month, not even, but let's say 1 month of accumulation? I think it's likely to be a longer period of accumulation, which means to me that we're only just entering phase B, which means we'll get rejected by the 200 moving average on Bitcoin, and we'll come down this sort of in this direction, and we'll fiddle around here, going sideways up towards. We'll have another test towards the top range of the accumulation range, but I suspect that's what will happen, and it won't be until later this month, maybe the end of June, that we head back down for another test of the lower supports at the very, very low, and for this try for this spring. The other thing that ties in with this, if we look at the historic price performance of coins like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Zcash, is that in June, during the last bull cycle, in June, Ethereum and Zcash went absolutely bananas versus the dollar, but also against their Bitcoin pairing. And think of it like this: that, you know, as I say, we do tend to have in cryptocurrency world these bull cycles, which tend to last a year or thereabouts, every 4 years. It is simply governed by the way that the inflation rate of Bitcoin, which is set at effectively 4 year halvings, half the number of Bitcoins that are coming into creation, and this creates a supply shock, which the basic laws of supply and demand force the price higher during these during these bull cycles, which occur every 4 years, about a year after the halvings. So during this year, the price won't go up non-stop. It will take time to pause, to retrace, for the big interests to take some profit, like they do here, between February and... Look, it's been going up non-stop. It's gone up from like 8,000 over the last year, since last March until February. So 10 months of it going from like 8 or 9. Well, it was down to 4,000 after it was down to 4,000 during when COVID came along and first shat on everyone's parade. But if we go from sort of here, October, where it really started to take off, from 10,000 up to sort of 65,000 at the peak, 64,000. But if you started distributing taking your profits, if you started here in February, then it's like 50,000. You like 5x your money. If you're Elon Musk or some institution or whoever it might be who was buying at 10,000 or below, then you're going to be very, very interested in selling at the $50,000 level, and that's what this is. Having said that, we're only in May, and the bull cycle, by historic precedent, seems to be still intact. It seems likely to continue for another 6 months or so. So once you've taken your profit, why not accumulate again and play the same game and get ready to take profits just before tax-paying season in the winter at Christmas? And I think that's what's happening. And so they're going to accumulate, and we should accumulate. And I lost my train of thought. And yeah, so that's the plan. So in terms of ZCash, we can choose to take our lead from the Bitcoin. We can look at the Bitcoin price operating within this trading range, and this is going to be a very good time for us to, if we see Bitcoin get rejected here by the 200 moving average. By the way, the 200 moving average, it's going to come through higher on the daily. And it might be that my support and resistance are too low here. I mean, I'm not. It's not an exact science, but it's giving us something to go by. Look, so it could be 42,000 because the daily is coming through here. So it might even be that we actually test towards 42,000, not just 40,000, and that might be the range, 42 down to 30,000. But either way. This is the key level to look between 40 and 42,000. If Bitcoin breaks through that, then it sort of breaks. The theory starts to break down that we're in this period of accumulation here, or at least we have to reassess where the support and resistance are in that reaccumulation zone. I'm going to say that I think that's what's. I think we'll stick broadly to this for the time being, but let's see. ZCash, however, is looking incredibly bullish. If we take out, let's see, can we get rid of all these? Just got to get rid of everything because there's so much on this bloody chart. Get rid of it all. Nonsense. Oh, put that back. Get rid of that one. Get rid of that one. Get rid of that one. Okay, so now, still a couple more. Let's just delete them. There we are. Okay, I would say this is looking pretty bullish. We can see this double bottom. Maybe we might. I mean, I'd be delighted if we do. We might get another trip down at some point to here. But I have a feeling that for the time being, and maybe I think for the time being, because I don't think Bitcoin is going to be going down to test the 30,000 mark for at least a few more weeks, a couple of weeks, let's say. So I think maybe we do at some point get another, and maybe on the weekly, this will help this double bottom to be produced with a second touch to the bottom, maybe here, closer to the $90 or $100 mark. That would maybe come through on the weekly chart. But on the daily, we are looking at a kind of double bottom here, and if we look at the Fibonacci trend-based extension, then I think so. There we are. Now it likes to play to this 1.618, the ZCash price. This is implying a target of $277. And as I say, if Bitcoin goes sideways, the alts will take their cue to surge forward, and ZCash will react, I think, in lockstep to Bitcoin, because it sort of seems more correlated. So maybe if we see if we can tell that Bitcoin is going sideways, maybe we can really jump the gun with our ZCash. Really, we can really time our ZCash positions accurately, like by doing that. We can also measure the double. The other thing we can do is measure this double bottom. Should have a target if we see if this is the breakout point, then we measure where it breaks out. There's the height of the thing, and if it breaks out there from this double bottom, then look, it's telling us, we've got 310, a target of 310. Now I think maybe the reason we get a discrepancy between this and this target is that I think that we will, on the lower time frames, the 4 hour, let's say, or the 1 hour, the Fibonacci trend-based extension will give different targets. It will give us a target, and the bots will take a target according to the trend on the lower time frames. And the lower time frames, it might, let's see, look, we'll start it from, we could go to, I'll leave that one up there. If we go to the 4 hour, let's see the 4 hour. So on the 4 hour, we could see that we've just been in this downtrend here, and we seem to be coming up. So now if we were to do say this is coming towards the bottom, 129 is where I think the bottom is. So if we do the trend-based fib extension from here, we'll do the bottom. We went up to here, and let's say the bottom comes in at 127. Yeah, there. Now this will give us a target of a choice of any of these Fibonacci levels, and you can see that they're not all going to be in sync with this bigger time frame target. So as the bots and algos play to these, I think this will give us a slightly altered end target than we can see if we just stick a fib trend extension on the big daily time frame, and especially because it's so susceptible to the Bitcoin price. I think, realistically, looking at this and thinking the target is 270 is probably not so accurate. We'll do it step by step. So, if this is a new trend we're in, if we establish we're in a new uptrend now, then we maybe want to go first to, let's say, the 7-8, and look, we've got there. I think this is the next one, because we already got to 151. You see, that's where we've just been rejected by. So we've got to 151. That's the 0.68 target, and then the next target is on the 78 is the 158. Maybe if you're an aggressive trader, you can maybe trade for the 178, the 1.618. Like I say, it does like to play for that. So it might be that our next big upswing, if Bitcoin now does get rejected, and it is running into a little bit of headwinds. Where's our Bitcoin chart? Oh, we're all now Bitcoin is. Let's get out of this. Go to candles. Go to the 1 hour. I just noticed. So look, yeah, okay, it has had a little bit of a rejection, and look what's happened to the ZCash. That's ZCash has it broken out of the? Let's go into the 15 minutes. Yeah, look, it's broken out of the. Oh, why has my triangle disappeared? Can we go? Oh, because I closed it off. I can't really be bothered to find that, but look, the triangle was something like that. Look, it seems to have broken down from. It's broken down here, and it's heading down 131. So there we have it. So that little rejection on the Bitcoin price that we were talking about, that what's happened there? There it is. That little rejection there has been enough to push ZCash out of the triangle, and looks like it now wants to, after all, head south. I mean, maybe it doesn't go. Maybe it's very much going to depend on if Bitcoin keeps trying higher. We're going to go sideways with the ZCash until Bitcoin decides. But once Bitcoin accepts that it is time to retrace and head down this way towards the, maybe it doesn't have to get that far. I think it only needs to sort of retrace past, probably at this point only past it down into the 36,000s. I think will be enough for us to get our target on the ZCash target of 126. I think I'm targeting. We're not far away. So yeah, that's pretty much what will happen. But I think then once we're down here at this point, this is a great buy opportunity, 126 for the ZCash, and I would hold it for the long term, really, because I think really what we're doing, if we're buying ZCash at 126 and Bitcoin's going sideways, I think we're going to see all kinds of price activity on ZCash. I think the ZCash goes initially, like I say, we're going to go stage by stage. We're going to make our way probably to 170, maybe 200 the psychological barrier. But bear in mind, it's not long since it was actually at $372 odd. So I think realistically, depending on how long Bitcoin goes sideways, we could get a very big alt season, and I think ZCash, the ultimate target, if we have a month or two of sideways action, I think probably it is looking at somewhere in these regions. Let's say the 3618, which is coming in at 474. That's where I would see ZCash getting to in the next month or so. But it does depend on Bitcoin. So that's it. Well, good luck. Happy trading. Let's see what happens. Good.